Yeah, I'm not
Sorry, I think that was my internet. Sorry
Oh,
about that.
all right. Okay, that's fine. So we'll just start all over again. So welcome everyone to my Motherhood series for Global Sororitas. And so we have a special guest with us today, and we have Naomi Buffery, who is the CEO of More Than a Mom. She's also a certified emotional health coach and also maternal mental health specialist. She is a postnatal depression and anxiety survivor. So I invited Naomi on here because I wanted her to tell us a little bit about her journey, because I know women who may have had the same challenges as she had. And so she can kind of share her journey and also tell us a little bit about what she has done, a little bit more about More Than a Mom and how people can connect with her and, get the help that they need. So over to you, Naomi.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I hope my internet doesn't cut out again.
Okay.
Um, can you hear me
Yeah,
okay?
I can hear you. I
Yeah,
can see you
good,
clearly. I can hear you
good,
clearly.
good. Okay, so we're back on track. Um, yeah, oh goodness, where to begin? So my little boy's 8 now. And when he was born, my mental health took a pretty big nosedive straight away. It was quite. I think it probably started in pregnancy, but I wasn't. I was kind of in a bit of a denial, I suppose. But when he was born, it 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 there was quite a big decline quite quickly, and I think part of that was my labour. I had quite a traumatic experience during birth, and but also I'd struggled with I'd had problems with my mental health on and off for a long time. I certainly had anxiety. I had, if you even call that a mental health problem, but I had anxiety for a long time, and it was just something that I learned to live with. And looking back, I think I probably had low level depression for a long time as well. There's a word for it. I can't remember what the word is, but it's just like a, functioning depression. But as soon as my little boy was born, I couldn't keep it under wraps anymore. It came to the surface and I had to do something. I had to deal with it. And yeah, those early days of when he was born were, it's just a blur now, but I was very, very anxious. I was so hard on myself. I put so much pressure on myself to be perfect, and I beat myself up a lot, and I had horrible intrusive thoughts. And I remember multiple occasions thinking about running away. I'm in the shower in the mornings thinking, can I run away today? Do I have to stay? And I like having serious conversations in my head with myself about whether they could cope without me. And it's quite a blur now. So those early days were really hard. I found really, really hard. But I think a big part of that for me was that I had this expectation of what I thought motherhood would be like. And I also had an expectation on myself. So as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I was getting these, and I told people about it. I was getting people saying to me things like, "Oh, it's magical. It's the most amazing thing ever." And that you get a really imbalanced view. You don't hear about the challenging and the tricky sides of motherhood, because it is challenging for anyone, regardless of whether you struggle with your mental health or not. That in the beginning, it is challenging.
Yes.
Because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I also almost got this impression from a lot of people that didn't matter because you're a woman and you are going to be, your instincts are going to kick in and you're instinctively going to know what to do and all this. So I set myself up. I was like, right, I'm going to be the best mum. That's what I told myself. And, I'm going to know exactly what I'm doing. Everything's just going to come natural to me. And it was the complete opposite. And, this is what I talk about quite a lot, is this expectations versus reality. I'd created this, this persona in my head of who I was going to be, this like earth mother that was amazing at breastfeeding, and I was so calm, and just this, that person doesn't even exist anyway. And I was sort of telling myself, you have to be the best at this. Because when I was pregnant, I remember saying to myself, I'm going to get it right with him. I'm going to get it right, and I'm going to correct all the wrongs, and I'm going to fix myself with him. And which is just not the greatest mindset to take into parenting. But I kind of set myself up for that, really, because there was such a imbalanced view of what motherhood is. Yeah. I've just rambled on there. Do you know what I mean?
I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I would say that I had similar experience. I don't know if you know what to expect.
Yeah.
And it could be very overwhelming because there is no perfect manuscript of what motherhood should look like. And as much as everyone tried to support and help and say, this is how I've done it, I think it's very important to kind of have your own blank canvas, I would say, and create your own version of what motherhood should look like for you. Some people want to spend 24 hours with their kids. Some that can only take a little bit of time and just they need time away. And I think also it links to being self-aware enough to know that, those are the feelings that you are experiencing, and not judge yourself based on those feelings. And it's very hard when you don't have that awareness at that early stage. So that's the reason why I think what you're doing is so incredible and so important, because what you're doing is, I believe that you're helping women to have that awareness if they don't have it, so they don't get into that guilt, that mom guilt, that shame, state of mind that could even worsen their mental health or mental wellness. So I wanted you to tell us your why for starting More Than a Mum.
Yes, you are you're spot on, actually. Yeah, you're just with what you were saying there, is self-awareness is the key, and I had absolutely no self-awareness back then, none. And a big thing for me was I had no confidence, not just as a parent, in life in general. I had no belief in myself, and I believed that everyone else knew better than me. And so I couldn't create this person, this mum. I couldn't be this, just naturally fall into the sort of mum that I wanted to be and just, go with the flow or whatever.
Yes.
Because I was so used to doing what I was told by other people, because I didn't trust myself. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that back then. Like I listened to some advice from other people, like well-meaning advice, but it went against my values, and it went against my instincts, but I didn't know they were my instincts because I didn't know how to I didn't know how to listen to my instincts, because again, I didn't trust myself. I thought everyone else knew better than me. Yeah, so I did stuff that I didn't want to, like, you know, like, as an example, leaving him to cry when he was, if he was crying at bedtime, cry it out. Someone told me to do that, cry it out, which I beat myself up about for years for doing that, because it went against my values, and it went against everything in me. All my instincts were saying, don't do that, don't do that. But because I'd been told to do it by someone that I trusted, I did it. And yeah, and I hated myself for it. So yes, self-awareness. And so that's what's happened on my healing journey, is I've learnt how to be more self-aware, how to trust myself, how to do what's best for me, rather than what I think people want me to do, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because I was, you know, I was the good girl. I did what I was told, and I was a good girl. And it just didn't, you know, I couldn't do that anymore as a mum. Just could not be that people pleaser anymore, because it was damaging the relationship with my son.
Yes.
Because I was doing stuff that that may not have been the best thing for him, because I wanted to please somebody else. It was really weird behaviour. And so now I've discovered how, you know, I've done lots of inner work on myself to understand myself, and I really do understand myself and my patterns of behaviour, and why I behaved the way I did, and how I can behave in a more helpful way for myself. And you know, it was you know, these behaviours, like people pleasing and like wanting to be perfect, I'd had for years. But as soon as I became a mum, I couldn't carry on with these unhelpful behaviours. And so that's why I'm not really passionate about passing this stuff on, because it is life changing. And there's so many people walking around with, you know, things like anxiety and depression, because they aren't aware of these underlying behaviours that are exacerbating it.
Yes.
And I just think now I've got this knowledge and this information, I can't keep it to myself. I need to help other people, like I was, to find a better way, you know. I think I really, really believe that if you heal the mum, you heal the world, because everything starts with a mum. Absolutely, everything starts with a mum.
Yes.
And I think if all mums were equipped with these tools to understand themselves better and adjust their unhelpful patterns of behaviour, then the whole of society benefits. So that's you know, that is why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I just think, you know, and it's quite simple stuff as well. It's the stuff that I've learned about myself is quite, and the changes that I've made to my habits, to my habitual behaviour, it's quite simple, but actually life changing. Yeah, does that explain why I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So give us an example of one of the changes that you have made.
Right. Okay.
This is how I was, and this is how I am now.
Well, a massive realization for me was that a lot of what I did, and a lot of my behaviours I did because I didn't like myself. And this was a huge thing for me. I I really, really didn't like myself. And I was very, very critical of myself, very critical. And I had, your inner dialogue inside your head. I was so hard on myself all the time, like telling myself, you haven't done it, you haven't done enough, you're not good enough. So I walked around with this belief that I wasn't good enough and I was unlovable. That's what powered a lot of it for me, was deep down, I didn't feel good enough in general. And one of the best things that I've learned is that we can learn how to love ourselves, but actually that's not something we're taught. We're not taught. Nobody showed me how to show myself love. And I think it should be taught in schools, to be honest with you, because what we do is we end up hating ourselves, being super critical to ourselves. So we try and boost our self-worth by getting other people to be nice to us. Yeah. So then then that's how we get other people to tell us that we're amazing, and that's how we get our sense of self-worth. But it's so unstable. You can't, relying on other people to give you compliments, to make you feel good, to boost your confidence.
Yes.
Is just not, it's not sustainable, because you don't have control of that other person.
No.
So that was one of the biggest things I learned, was how to internalize that and show myself the love that I was begging other people to show me. Yes. And yeah, amazing. I work on my self-esteem every single day. Like it's that belief that I'm not good enough is really, it's like a real embedded, like, neural pathway in my brain. It's really embedded. So I work on it all the time, and it's so simple. It's so simple, to the things you can do to change that relationship with yourself. And it's just some little habits. And my habits are that I don't criticize myself. I catch myself out when I'm criticizing myself, and I try and reframe that thought. So as an example, like I would have in the past, if my son watched like 3 hours of telly in a row or something, I would have beaten myself up and said, you're a bad mum for letting him do that. But instead, I would, if that's something like that happened now, I would reframe it to something like, well, you're tired and you're making sure that he's safe and entertained, and so you can get rest. Therefore, when you're happy, he's happy. So just reframing things like that.
Yeah.
And I do that all the time. I don't criticize myself at all anymore. And another thing I do is every day I just keep a track of all the little wins I have throughout the day, because we can be so focused on stuff that we perceive to be failures. We forget about all the tiny little wins, and when we're mums, we have tiny little wins all the time.
Yes.
But we home in on the stuff that we perceive to be negative or whatever. So yeah, just little changes to habits like that are absolutely life-changing.
Yeah.
That's been huge for me.
Fantastic. And I think it's so, I did a series last year, and it was talking about self-love, and, I felt initially people felt a little bit uncomfortable with it, because there's an element of, self-love. Are you going to are you going to now be very selfish and it's all about you?
Oh, yeah.
What you don't realize is that if you're not, if you don't love yourself, what comes from you to the world is not it doesn't express the real you.
Yes.
Because when you begin to love yourself, it would affect your relationship in your marriage or your partner, or your relationship with friends, your relationship with your kids, your relationship it just have a ripple effect, because
Mm,
coming into the world as I am broken, I need to be fixed. You're coming into the world that, you know what, with my insecurities, my flaws, my highs, my low, the core of my being is an expression of love. And everything
mm,
else I will work, because I'm a work in progress, isn't it?
mm,
So
mm,
work daily on those things, and then you
mm.
have a level of self-compassion. You have a level of, you're more present in the moment, and
Mm.
you're more self-aware. And then when you have those feelings and those thoughts come back, you're coming from a place of love and saying, okay, I'm thinking this way, but I know that what I'm thinking is not actually who I am. It's
Yeah,
just a feeling that I am expressing right now. So how can I then, what are the strategies and what are the tools that I've, kind of picked up along the way that can help to help me to get through this moment? And then you're
yeah,
going through life moment by moment, because really it is moment by moment. And you're
yeah,
still learning and evolving as an individual, even in the space of motherhood. You know, our parents will have their own version of motherhood because of
mm,
their own unique experience. And when we are older and we speak to our children, we have our own version of motherhood, and they will create their own version of
yeah,
motherhood. And that is the beauty of it. But
mm,
like you said, I totally agree with you. When we get right with mothers, not at the, I think at a very early stage, I think the whole teaching of self-love, self-awareness, I think it needs to be, taught in schools, and, taught to parents as well, parenting classes and things like that, so that we can create a society that really we value in ourselves, we value
yeah,
our diversity, we value the differences, and we value, each other.
yeah.
So when I read a lot of your posts, I'm encouraged by it. I'm truly encouraged by it.
Oh, amazing.
I and I want you to tell, when people watch this and I post it in
Mm.
different social media platform, how can they get in touch with you? And is it a coaching program that you run, so that you can just kind of tell them a little bit so they know when they what you have in what the sort of packages you have in terms of your
Okay.
coaching program? Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of threefold. The way I look at it is motherhood's a journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
It isn't just about when you become a mum and that bit at the beginning. It's each stage of motherhood comes with its own challenges.
Yeah.
So I look at I sort of work with women right from when they're pregnant all the way to, when their kids when they go back to kids go to school, when they go back to work. That's another period, isn't it? When you go back to work for the first time, then when your kids go to school, then when your kids leave home. There's all different stages of motherhood that are challenging, aren't there?
Yes.
So that's kind of what I help women with, is the ever changing challenges of motherhood. For the adjustment period to being a new mum, that period when you're pregnant and you're thinking, oh my God, can I do this? And that's really important as well, that bit as well, like preparing yourself emotionally for motherhood. And the other stages throughout. So it's all about learning more about yourself and learning how to deal with those different throughout motherhood. And yeah, when I coach, mentor, and train. That's what I say, because so it's a mixture of coaching, mentoring, and training. And you, on a like an ongoing basis, monthly ongoing basis. I offer like a one-off session, and or I have like sort of like a fast track. If you've got like for example, I work with mums that are struggling with burnout, working mums that are struggling with burnout. If that's something that you really want to fix quite quickly, I have like a fast track 12-week package as well. So there's a few different options. So there's a few things to pick from there. But that's basically what I do when I'm supporting mum. Yeah.
Fantastic. So people can go onto your page, which is at Maternal Mental Health Coach.
Yes.
I know you click the bio and they can link up with you there and contact you. And then when you have like future events, so if they subscribe, and they'll be able to get those, you know, dates and have access to those future events. And also you have a Facebook page group as well, where people can join, I believe.
Yeah. That's called that Facebook group's called More Than a Mum. I can't remember what it's called now. More Than a Mum.
Yeah, More Than a Mum.
Yeah, I think it's More Than a Mum Facing the Challenges of Motherhood, something like that.
Yes.
So yeah, you can find that, but that's on my Instagram bio anyway. So you can just go and click on the link, or there's, you know, my website, which is just naomibuffery.com.
Okay.
So
yes.
There's a few options there.
Fantastic. So have you got one last word that you wanted to share with us before we end the live?
I don't know. There's so much I could say. Just thank you very much for having me. And I think the big takeaway here is, and this is something that I reiterate all the time, is focusing on that relationship with yourself over, you know, if you've got a good relationship with yourself, the world's inside out, isn't it? So everything, how you feel on the inside affects everything on the outside. And I think as mums particularly, and in this consumerist world that we live in, we're encouraged to fix the outside by buying things, or, you know, buying something to help with, I don't know, if you're struggling as a mum, we often try and fix things outside of us, like our baby's sleep, or buying the latest cot, which with an ergonomic mattress or something like that. And actually, usually what we need to do is we need to work on our relationship with ourselves. So there we go. I'll leave you with that.
Yes.
Often that's what it is. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Working with a relationship with yourself, that is so important.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm honored to have you on there. I appreciate the fact that you agreed to come on, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to work together on other projects.
I've loved it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.